Hey there, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. Sorry I'm running a little late today. We usually get together earlier on Sundays, but well, my dance card has been full all weekend, and it has been magnificent. Our friends Jeffrey and Eric, who you met last year in the fall when Gabby and I decided to jump on a plane and go to Manhattan for the weekend to see Beetlejuice. You remember that? It was Jeffrey and Eric that we went to spend the weekend with and, do Manhattan and see Beetlejuice. It was so much fun. Well, they have done us the honor of coming to visit us for this weekend so that we could celebrate Hanukkah with our friends and their family, which was quite lovely. We've been talking a lot about this, and I really love, traditions and how people chose to engage and build their families and around this concept of awesomeness, whatever. It was very nice to be at our friend's house as they celebrated with their traditions this past Friday. But more importantly, our dear friends came in because we had tickets to go see Margaret Cho live. Oh my God. She's just so wrong. If you don't know Margaret Cho, I highly recommend. I mean, she's brilliant and hilarious. It was really awesome. I went with those friends and my wife and our friend Alana, and I laughed. I laughed. Oh, it was so good. It was so wrong. I laughed and screamed, and this is the thing though. If you don't know Margaret Cho, I just need to give you a fair warning, okay? If you have any kind of sensitivity, really language choices, I would say, if you're going to not enjoy a woman who is now in menopause and talking about her dry ass pussy in menopause, she's not for you. But if you can engage in that way and so choose, oh my gosh, we had such a wonderful night. It was so nice. It was so nice to see my wife laughing. Just, I mean, Margaret, her humor was just spot on. And, it was really special to us because we realized when we saw that she was on the calendar, right, that we could go to see her. We went on a time travel trip, right, back to 23 years ago when we first started dating. We realized that Margaret was one of our very first dates. It was back when my wife was doing her PhD at the Oriental Institute at the University of Chicago. I was hustling. We had a delivery business at that time that I built with some friends. Ooh, we were hustling. And it was the first time ever that I went to a live stand-up. It was great. It was for Margaret Cho to de-virginize me in that way. It was really appropriate. And over the years, we have been lucky enough that we have been at so many different events that we've actually chatted with and continued to have Margaret in our lives, every 5 years. It's fun. We were just looking at pictures of, we were babies over the last 20 years. Yeah, so it was so kind of our friends to come in and spend the weekend. Everyone's making cookies and doing cookie exchanges and I got to go to the movie theater. I don't do a lot of indoor things still. I know we talk about this all the time. You see me out doing crazy things all the time. I usually don't do like long-term indoor things because I still mask everywhere I go. But to sit in a mask in the theater for this film, which was I got to stay alive long enough that there's a Ghibli studio. Not sure if you're familiar with it. It's like Japanimation. There is a brilliant illustrator that retired like 10 years ago, and he said he was gonna. He came back. He came back for one more story. And when I said this dude, like, hand creates every scene in this film. Like it is one of the most beautiful pieces of moving art. I'm considering going back this week, but he opened a movie called The Boy and the Heron, and it got released over the summer. But I've been so sick and wrangling so much fucking cancer that I couldn't get there until this weekend. I squeezed it in so that I could. It was just a lovely afternoon, and then that coupled with this whole weekend of friends has just been great. And very much needed. As I suspected, there is cancer in the skull. More new growths. Multiple. It is in the skull only, in the bone. And the reason I differentiate that is because if the cancer breaks the blood barrier of the brain and gets into the brain, it's a very different conversation. And we talked about this when it first showed up, right? Like, with the bone, I do have a chance of a little bit more time. We got 6 months out of the last time it showed up in my head, and I zapped it. I mean, that's always a possibility. I don't think that's necessarily what we're shooting for now. I think it's the time for me to accept that there's limited choices that I have. It's being in the skull. I do have an appointment tomorrow morning with my radiologist, who's been an amazing partner for the last 2 years. This is the guy that was worried about radiation on my lungs taking away my ability for life, right? Because that's what I'm here fighting for. He was the guy that I said, Doc, I promise you, if you bring out your tools and you figure you want to play with a fun new way to zap someone with these tools, let's do this. And if it's enough, I'll tell you when it's enough. I don't want to hurt myself either. I have no intention, if I am so fortunate to continue to be granted with choices, I have no intention of driving this into the ground with treatment. I told him I'll put the work in. So I showed up to radiation on my bicycle. Showed up to our appointment on my bicycle day after day, week after week. I would do my job. And it worked. And it got me more time. And he was the gracious partner that when it went to maybe head the first time, he explained the choice I was making and the potential and stuff, and he let me make that choice. I don't know tomorrow if I don't know if I have a choice to be made tomorrow. I don't know if there is an option to zap it, but hear me out. This is what I'm thinking. I've always kind of had my wife and I were trying to figure out, we need a code name for this, right? For the end of days plan, right? Again, if we have choices. The CT scan showed that there's growth in the lungs, and then there's multiple new spots in the head, so it is marching forward. And right now, it's a very scary moment in that it could choose to march forward very quickly, and everything I'm talking about won't fucking matter. But hopefully, I've put a lot of work in these last couple of years to making this body and this mind strong and stocked to the go. So that's like I got all the tools. My toolkit is so full. It is packed. It's ready. What I'm hoping is that I'm going to go tomorrow and talk to my doctor and ask him if he will, if it's possible, if it's not going to destroy me, can we zap these? And then, I've returned to chemo. There's conversation about whether it makes sense to be in chemo. Is there growth or not? My doctor, which I'm inclined to agree with in this moment, there's the growth that has occurred because I was on a forced chemo break. I wasn't in treatment, and so it grew. And we totally expected that. We're hoping that going back to chemo and zapping this get me in, push me into a couple more months before I think I really just like Rainbow Glitter Warrior Stomp for the code name for the end times plans, you know? If I can push this body into the spring. And, we'll see. Who knows? Who knows? And I have proven that there are miracles to be had. But I think getting it to spring is going to be a stretch. And but that's what my doctor and I have discussed and what we planned. Is that I'm going to try. I'm going to give it a zap. It didn't break the brain barrier, so if it was in the brain, I'd be calling it a day. We'd be done with treatment. We'd be starting the Rainbow Warrior Stomp immediately, but we're not, because I want to push it and see if I can get to March or April. Because I have a dream. I'll stop treatment then. it's strange. I feel like this week is like I got a missive to. It's time to like lay down arms. Hey, it's just me. It's just me. Hey. I don't know if that makes sense, though, if that's the right language for myself, but I feel like that's the like, this week, I just, okay, it's... I'm not okay with the dying part. I'd so much prefer to be able to figure that part out, to not have that happen. But, on the other hand, I'm really, really tired. So long. 5 years. Glorious, magnificent, extraordinary. Difficult. Returning to chemo this last week. It was not easy. Now, this is my head going, why go back to chemo? What's the point? Why zap it? What's the point? It gets me sometimes. That soft whisper, just sit down. Just sit down. But I'm not ready yet. And by some motherfucking miracle, I have my body. My brain might be going, but I have my body, and I worked hard to get here, and if I have a choice to be made, we're gonna get this body to the spring. I'm gonna pack up my truck, my Land Rover Defender. In the back's gonna be a bunch of coolers, right? It's all gonna be filled with craft foods from around the Midwest. My entire life in here has been in hospitality and around bringing the farmers' food back to the table. One of the greatest honors of my life was to be able to use Google's unlimited budget to pump into our farmers in Michigan and Indiana and Wisconsin. I want to go find all those little craft nerds. There's a nerd that makes amazing cheese in Wisconsin. Him and his wife, and they built this like 3-story house thing that they live in that's all glass. She does yoga all day. He makes cheese, and he bombed out a piece of the hill behind his house to create a cheese cave. I'm gonna start to collect. My butcher down the street. Yeah, that makes dried jerky and sausages that are like just amazing, right? All of these craft foods and liquors and beers. packed my car. Got one of those rooftop tents. Packed my dog and my wife, and I'm going on a walkabout. You know, spend some time with my sister at the beach. Ooh, I get lost on this one. How do you explain a walkabout to a neurodivergent? How do I explain the idea of a walkabout? I'm coming to spend time with you and then say goodbye to you. And with my able body, I'm gonna walk away and choose never to see you again. How do you explain that? To your autistic nephew. I'm gonna drive up through the farmlands of Pennsylvania, through Amish country and Mennonite country, all the way up the Adirondacks. Say bye to family along the way, all the way up to Canada, because I have family. My wife's my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and my nephews. I made it long enough that my youngest nephews will remember me for a bit. Not a long time, because they're just like right below. They're like tweens. And then we're gonna road trip through Banff. Come on down through Montana and Wyoming, and I'm gonna create a bubble around my wife and I. And I'm gonna enjoy the last of my days with my wife. Hopefully, we're not quite there yet, because I am going to try to push this body through. I'm going to try to do one more radiation and a couple more rounds of chemo. But I have started some of the plans for the Rainbow Glitter Warrior Stomp, and one of them is talking to the pain management team at of my facility. As you know, I have chosen to not use narcotics through these last 5 years, and not because I'm some fucking hero or anything really. The choice was mine. The choice was made simply because, man, I don't know if you remember this story, but the first time I was admitted to the hospital for the first surgery, I came out of the surgery. All of my friends were there. They were all there in the hospital room, and they're all chatting and having a great time. All of my friends are hospitality. By the time I was there one day, the entire room was set up with drinks and snacks and everything, so I could play the hostess with the mostest, right? It was really lovely, right? Great time, chatty. I'm chatting with them. We're having just a lovely time. Everyone leaves later. I could ask my wife something about, this interaction, this conversation. My wife's like, I don't know what you're talking about, because it never happened, right? Our friend Heather was there, and I slept the entire time, and it was 2 days ago. Well, let me tell you something. That world that I was in was delicious. Oh my God, it was so real. Like, I could have opted out in that moment, and just checked out and been like, I don't need to deal with any of the emotions of cancer. I don't need to deal with my life, winding down my life. I could have just opted out, and I was like, whoa. Pure fucking respect for Oxy. That's what it was. I look forward to its use in the future. That day I decided to go narcotic free. However, I am no martyr. I will not suffer. I had a plan for the future. The other part of the practical reason, I didn't want to opt out. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that to myself, and I didn't want to disrespect my wife in that way. But I also knew that if I started to use drugs right away, and at that time, I really thought I only had a couple of months to live, but I was really scared about like what that last month looked like, because I just was the caretaker for 2 men as they died of cancer, and that last few months was really, really fucking ugly and scary and gross. And so I was like, oh, I need to save the potency of the drugs. So somehow I have made it through 5 years without having to access it, but now is the time. I've set up a meeting with my pain management team so I can figure out what does that mean, right? And like, how can I hopefully craft this so that I can access these wonderful drugs and also hopefully my life, you know, so I can go on a road trip, things like that. I've also have another plan I put into place. Fully looking forward to and very excited to be exploring psychedelics. I said this whole time when when it was, Rainbow Glitter Warrior Stump. All right, it's the Rainbow Glitter Warrior Stump. I like that because it brings energy to, like, it's not making this be like sad and, oh my god, it's time for me to die, let me crawl into a ball. That was yesterday. Or this morning. But a stomp, yeah. I said, I'm so excited. I'm excited for shrooms, I'm excited for ketamine, I'm excited for LSD, I'm excited for all of it in a very fun, exploratory way. Not as any way to cop out, but I know the potential suffering that happens and the mental anguish that you go through, and I am very much a proponent of these drugs bringing you peace. So I've kicked all those plans into place, so hopefully, a little bit of time through the beginning of the year to make sure all the plans are in place, and I need to find different verbiage for myself than lay down your arms, because I don't feel like that's maybe it's okay. It's not related to giving up, but it's related to, I'd like to say acceptance, but I'm not, I don't think I'm in the acceptance space. I think I'm in the resignation space. That's what this week is. I'm resigned. Well, I do have to walk through those doors tomorrow. Actually, I don't have to do anything anymore. My friend was here for brunch, Jasmine. I was just talking about how it's just been hard making choices of what to eat. You only have so much room. What are you gonna eat? Also, I can't chew, so is it worth it? All of these types of things. And also trying to be like healthy and make good, choice decisions. And he's like, yeah, but you don't have to, do you really have to do that anymore? I just started laughing. I was like, you're right, dude. So I pulled out some vanilla ice cream and poured maple syrup all over it. And it was glorious. It's gonna get a lot harder to shed rainbows, but I've said from the beginning, I'm gonna try so hard to not waste any time with anger or sadness, or I'm not saying be obnoxious and ignore it. I just don't want to stay in that. I had more than my share at the beginning of this life, and I don't want it as I leave this life. So this week, my wife and I are going to make hot chocolate and drive around every night looking at holiday decorations. There's so much going on right now. That's great. We're gonna go see It's a Wonderful Life. My wife has never seen that film. So we're gonna go to the theater and see it. We're gonna try to make the best out of it after I get through this chemo. What's the point? The point is getting you to March, April. So hopefully you can still dance all the way through the summer. In some way, and I was really hoping that it would end up being this way, but I have been hustling and running as fast as I can, playing catch me if you can, motherfucker, with cancer for 5 years. Even this, as soon as when the scans come in, my brain starts, okay, well, what's next? What about this? What about this? No. I think the time for that is done. We've talked a lot about this time coming. I feel very honored to be able to make these decisions, and so I don't want to shy away because the emotions are too overwhelming. There's a list that I keep of every friend and everyone that I volunteered with that have died. And then most all of their stories. Yeah, almost all of their stories. They were diagnosed and dead within 6 months. They did not have the luxury to be having these conversations with themselves. They did not have the luxury to try to push their body back into some kind of shape to keep going. They didn't have the luxury to do a walkabout and say goodbye to their friends and family. So I understand what an incredible honor it is to be able to do that for yourself, and I'm gonna crush that too. Because my life has been pretty extraordinary, and I have spent the entire time in the world of hospitality, so I think anyone that knows me wouldn't expect anything less than the fact that I'm going to try to manage my death in a way that is filled with laughter and joy the whole way, even when the pain makes me scream. Well, you can see why I was late today. I really needed to fill my days with awesome sauce. And I did. I'll let you know what the doctor says. As I said, right now, I'm just daydreaming that I have the option to get zapped. I don't know if I do. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you'd be like, sorry, where it's located is going to do X, Y, and Z. I don't know. I'll let you know next Sunday. Next Sunday, when we meet, I will be at our new home in Jackson Hole. We are gonna fly there as soon as I'm disconnected from chemo, so that we can bring in towards the end of the year in our new home. Do it our way. Our way, all the way. Well, friend, thank you for coming as always. Thank you for checking in on me. I'll talk to you, next Sunday. Yeah. Oh, wait. One thing. I'm having a hard time sleeping right now because I'm doing the whole, like, well, you can sleep when you're dead thing. So, I have exhausted, I need some suggestions. I need some music to explore. I need suggestions. I can't really read, but audio short stories, I can't do audiobooks. I get to chapter 6 and I forgot what chapter 1 is, so let's do short stories. Anything that you have a suggestion for that you can just give me a little tidbit so I can research whatever to fill up my days and nights. That would be great. Okay, now I'll see you next Sunday.